every time we hear about Joel Embiid and injuries, it's the same story. Man, this guy just can't catch a break. But what if I told you the Philadelphia 76ers just spent over $600 million locking themselves to two of the most injury-prone stars in NBA history? And it might have completely destroyed their future? Today, we're talking about the most expensive disaster the NBA has ever seen. How Joel Embiid's career might be ending before our eyes. How Paul George's Philly dream turned into a medical nightmare. And how the Sixers went from championship contenders to one of the worst teams in the league. Picture July 2024. Philly fans are losing their minds. Daryl Morey pulls off the impossible. Paul George signs a 4-year, $212 million max deal to join Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. Fresh off an MVP season for Embiid, a most improved win for Maxey, and now adding a 9-time All-Star. The math looks simple. Elite defense plus scoring depth plus Embiid's dominance equals championship. It was supposed to be foolproof. It was supposed to be their year. It was completely wrong. In a meaningless preseason game, George hyperextends his left knee. No big deal, right? Wrong. He misses the first 5 games, debuts on November 4th with just 15 points. Then, 16 days later, the same knee gives out again. From there, it's like reading a medical textbook. January, finger tendon injury, painkiller injections. February, groin injury that won't heal. March, injections in both groin and knee, season over. Final tally, 41 games, 16.2 points, $49.2 million. That's $1.2 million per game for his worst season since he was a rookie. If George was the opening act, Embiid was the headliner, for all the wrong reasons. He plays just 19 games. 2 surgeries on the same knee in 14 months. Medical experts are comparing him to Yao Ming and Kawhi Leonard, and not in a good way. And here's the financial punch. In 2024, Embiid signed a 3-year, $193 million extension that hasn't even started yet. By 2029, he'll be making $67.2 million at age 35 with chronic knee problems. As if the injuries weren't enough, November 2024 drops a bomb. Tyrese Maxey, the quiet, reserved leader, calls out Embiid in a players-only meeting for being late to everything. The meeting leaks the next day. Embiid is furious, claims he knows who leaked it. League insiders point to Paul George. Trust in the locker room? Gone. Embiid swears he'll never attend another team meeting again. Then it gets personal. A local columnist questions Embiid's commitment and drags his late brother and young son into it. After a loss, Embiid confronts the writer in the locker room, shoves him, and tells him, "You're gonna see what I'm gonna do to you." The NBA suspends him 3 games. When asked if he regretted it, his response was, "I'd do it again." Final record, 24-58. Worst since the dark days of tanking. The Big 3 played together. 15 games. Less than 300 minutes total. The Sixers set an NBA record with 53 different starting lineups. Nick Nurse wasn't coaching basketball. He was managing a medical ward. Maxey thrives. 26.3 points per game. All-star level, leader mentality. Rookie Jared McCain looks like a steal before injury. Top 3 pick VJ Edgecombe dominates Summer League. The young core is promising. But the problem is the $600 million tied up in Embiid and George. Philly's options are brutal. Run it back and pray Embiid and George stay healthy. Trade them, which likely means attaching assets to dump their contracts because they now have negative trade value. Either way, the cap situation is a nightmare. Projected luxury tax bills of up to $100 million per year for minimal on-court production. While OKC builds a dynasty with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the league's youngest roster, Philly is stuck with aging, injured stars. Even Morey calls it the toughest season of my career. The Sixers didn't just miss their championship window, it slammed shut on their fingers. We've seen this movie before. The Sixers have a long history of banking on fragile stars. Andrew Bynum, Ben Simmons, even Markelle Fultz. But Embiid's situation? It's on another level. Back in 2014, they drafted him knowing he'd miss his rookie year. The trust the process era was built entirely on the hope that Embiid's body would eventually cooperate. 10 years later, it hasn't. And now the bill has come due. Literally. Here's something the team won't say publicly. Chronic meniscus issues are degenerative. That means no matter how many surgeries, the knee never truly goes back to 100%. Every game Embiid plays is a gamble. not just for the season, but for his career. This is the same injury that ended Brandon Roy's career early and forced Amari Stoudemire into retirement before 35. So, when people talk about Embiid's window, it's not just the team's window, it's his. The locker room leak wasn't just a headline, it broke something inside this team. When your franchise player refuses to attend another meeting, that's not leadership, that's survival mode. Whispers around the league say Embiid privately feels betrayed, and some players quietly resent his absences and tardiness. This is how dynasties crumble, not with a loss on the court, but with silence in the locker room. Let's break down just how stuck they are. Embiid, $67 million in 2029. George, $53 million in his age 36 season. Maxey, $40 million plus annually at his peak. Add in role players and the luxury tax, and you're looking at $450 to $500 million per year in actual costs for a player that may not even make the playoffs. Most teams can rebuild. Philly can't. They can't spend without paying double in tax penalties, and they can't trade without losing assets. Philadelphia fans deserve the truth. This is not a quick fix. Even in the best-case scenario, Embiid and George both play 60-plus games, Maxey continues to rise, and the young core explodes. That still might not be enough in a loaded Eastern Conference with Boston, Milwaukee, and New York all stacked. In the worst case, we're looking at one of the fastest collapses from contender to bottom feeder in NBA history, and it's already halfway there. If next season doesn't work, it's over. Not just the Embiid era, the process itself. We're talking about 10 years of hype, heartbreak, and what-if moments reduced to a cautionary tale for every GM in the league. If Embiid can't stay healthy, the Sixers won't just be remembered for missing their chance. They'll be remembered for proving that no amount of talent, money, or analytics can beat father time and bad knees. And somewhere in the Wells Fargo Center rafters, the empty space where a championship banner should hang will be the final reminder that sometimes the process doesn't deliver. Look around the league. Denver built around Jokic with depth and health. Boston stacked two-way wings and stayed durable. OKC, they're the youngest serious contender in the NBA. Meanwhile, Philly built a house on sand. Every other contender stars are peaking. Phillies are breaking. The difference? Those teams maximize their windows. Philly is watching theirs slam shut. One injury to a star is bad. Two injuries to your highest paid players, both on lower body joints, is a death sentence for title hopes. Even if George returns, he's 35 and reliant on lateral quickness. Embiid is a 7-foot, 280-pound big man with a degenerative knee condition. That's not just bad luck. That's betting your entire future on dice that are already loaded against you. Sixers fans are stuck in basketball purgatory. Too much talent to truly tank. Too much injury risk to truly contend. Do they support a core that's given them MVP moments, or demand a teardown that could take another decade to recover from? In Philly, loyalty runs deep, but so does frustration. And if this season is another medical nightmare, we might see the loudest Wells Fargo boo since the process began. The process started with hope and might end with silence. Embiid's knees, George's injuries, Maxey's rise. The Sixers are at a crossroads. Do they gamble one last time or tear it all down? Tell me in the comments what you think.